let's stay in the National League and look at Rookie of the Year, because I know we had an article that I had assigned probably close to a month ago, where I wanted our one of our writers to talk about why Jackson Merrill deserved the Rookie of the Year, but why he wouldn't win it. And I thought he wouldn't win it because I thought Paul Skenes was just too popular to not win this thing. But Jackson Merrill continues to get big hit after big hit for the Padres, and the WAR numbers are starting to favor him. It feels like we're going to see Jackson Merrill win this thing, but Skenes could still, with a strong finish, maybe get in the race. And also, Yuki wants to mention Shota Imanaga, another guy that very well was part of the combined no-hitter yesterday. But I think it's going to come down to Skenes and Merrill ultimately. I apologize, Yuki.
I think it will too. Yeah, and that might be surprising for some people to say that Paul Skenes isn't the runaway winner, because watching highlights and getting praise is different than the actual statistics. And I think there's really four names that are in the conversation for NL Rookie of the Year award. Shota Imanaga maybe on the outside looking in, even with being a major part of that no-hitter that we saw on Wednesday. But Skenes and Merrill are at the top of that, and Merrill doing it all year long. I think, they both have youth on their side where you say, oh man, we haven't seen a player this young, or the fact that Skenes was just drafted last year. But Jackson Merrill also doing it at a position he had never played before, came up as a shortstop, began his career in another country. That was an article I thought about writing, and I think I did a little bit of research, like how many players made their major league debut in a country outside of Canada or the United States. And like, that's wild to think that's where his season began, but he's learned things on the fly as a 20-year-old. And I think, in that conversation, you have another 20-year-old in Jackson Churio,
Yeah,
really, really solid. And he's been coming on strong as of late, going to join a very elite group of players who reached 20 home runs and 20 stolen bases before turning age 21. And then the fourth guy that, again, depending on how much you've watched him, and I know defense has been a big component of it, but Mason Wynn has also been fantastic. But I think you're right. So much of the conversation this year has been about Paul Skenes, and more recently been about Jackson Merrill, especially when you look up and down that Padres lineup and you say, man, they're really coming on strong as of late. A lot of that corresponds with Jackson Merrill. And again, Rookie of the Year award is not MVP, but I think that's going to be part of the conversation just a little bit, and having people take notice and say, hey, that's really impressive for a rookie to be doing that under this kind of a spotlight when a team really, needs this guy to come through and get their club back into a postseason race. So I think that's going to be worth a couple extra points, but ultimately it's going to be the numbers on the table that really decides who wins Rookie of the Year.
You look at the odds right now, Jackson Merrill's minus 1,200, which is a shock that he's that much of a favorite. Paul Skenes now is plus 850, which means that the betting odds suggest that it's more likely that Francisco Lindor would win the MVP over Ohtani than Skenes would win the Rookie of the Year over Jackson Merrill. And that's just showing you how good Merrill has been. I mean, you look at what he has done for that team to, like you said, to make the debut in another country as a rookie at center field when you've been a shortstop your entire career. And he's not going to, I think Brenton Doyle is going to win that award, but Jackson Merrill is going to get some consideration just considering how well he has played center field. He's got a 294 average. He's got on base at a 326 clip. He's slugged over 500, 22 homers, 16 stolen bases. So he probably gets into the 2020 club when it's all said and done this year. And just so many big moments. It's really crazy because Paul Skenes, everybody would want to just give him this type of an award. He's got a 2.13 ERA in 19 starts. He's been unbelievable. But just being excellent for a Pirates team that has faded compared to Jackson Merrill, who has been everything, everyday player, just doing everything he could to keep this team, in this race. Yeah, I think Merrill has this thing.
When you look at both versions of wins above replacement, Fangraphs prefers Merrill over Skenes by almost one WAR, but then Baseball Reference's version favors Skenes over Merrill by 1.5. So you add those two up, the edge goes slightly to Jackson Merrill. Maybe that's the new version of WAR, is you just add them both together and they cancel out and you take the average, whatever it is. But they're really close. It's going to be interesting to see how this one ends up shaking out. And I really wish, after having voted for the Rookie of the Year last year, I really wish that the ballot was 5 players deep. Because with 3, again, all it takes is a year like this where you say, okay, it's Skenes and Merrill, and now in theory you say, the third place vote, I'll throw somebody a bone and give them or whatever. That has implications, right? And you really can't do that if you're only going 3 deep, especially if there's 3 candidates. We'll see what Mason Wynn does over the final 3+ weeks. We'll end up seeing what Imanaga is able to do. So that third place vote could be critical. If you go 5 deep, that then at least allows you to go and give somebody a little vote saying, hey, I saw what you did out there. That was pretty good. I mean, look at Ellie De La Cruz. He barely got any recognition for what he was able to do last year. It's because it was a really strong National League Rookie of the Year work class. Yuri Perez was fantastic last year, got 1 third place vote. It wasn't because he wasn't worthy. It was because the ballot was only 3 deep. So it would be interesting to see what would happen if you could go 5 deep and really give a little bit more recognition to some of those rookies who had good seasons. They just weren't the best seasons.
For me, I'd prefer, that going 5 deep would be great, and that would help the voting process. I wish they would give us 2 Rookie of the Years. Do a pitcher and a hitter. It's just this season, Jackson Merrill deserves the Rookie of the Year. But Paul Skenes deserves, when he goes into Cooperstown, hopefully everything breaks the way we want it to, that Baseball Reference page should say Rookie of the Year on it, because he has done everything that you would have, there's not a single thing that Paul Skenes could have done better in his Rookie of the Year season. There's just a guy who played a more impactful role on a better team. And so that's where Merrill probably gets this thing, because I do think if you're looking at value, the position player who's out there every day is just more valuable than the pitcher who also, joined the party a little bit late. But this is a case, if there ever is one, where both of these guys deserve it, and there should be a pitcher Rookie of the Year and a hitter Rookie of the Year. I feel like most years there's at least one guy that's deserving on each front. I don't think it has to be one award.
You're just saying that because that means Kodai Senga would have won last year for NL.
I didn't even think of that. I didn't even think of that.
Well, that's honestly how much your Mets fandom is just in your blood.
I promise you, because you know what? Here's my complete honest thing. I forget that Imanaga's a rookie this year too. Something about the guys that come over that have had whole careers. I almost don't even know if I was a voter, I don't think I would be like, oh yeah, Kodai Senga was a rookie last year. The guy's 30 years old. He's won 100 games in the MPB. To me, no, it's more looking at even 2021, one race that comes to mind. Like Trevor Rogers was awesome for the Marlins. If there was 2 awards, he could have won a Rookie of the Year. So I really do think that it puts voters in a tough spot where it's never easy to compare a hitter to a pitcher. It's just not. That's what makes grading prospects so hard at times. Like, who do you put ahead? And a lot of times the position player will get the edge in prospect rankings because of that nature of them playing more frequently. So I just think this is a situation where both of these guys really do deserve this award.
That's an interesting concept. And honestly, I don't think I've heard anybody ever mention that. It's such a simple thing of saying, hey, why don't we have a pitcher Rookie of the Year? I don't know what you would name that one. I mean, we do call the Rookie of the Year award the Jackie Robinson Award. He actually won in the first year in 1947 when he debuted and broke the color barrier. So I don't know if it would be like the Satchel Paige Award, who was the first African-American player to pitch in the majors. But it would be interesting. I think right now we are in this renaissance of rookies making an impact and getting more opportunities, where in the past that wasn't really the case. And there were some really down years. Like, how many people remember 2009? Who was the Rookie of the Year? Chris Coughlin. Okay. I mean, now the best pitcher would have been J.A. Happ. And then we think about him just a little bit differently in the National League. In the American League, Andrew Bailey won it as a closer for the Oakland Athletics, which, hey, the more things change, the more they stay the same. Elvis Andrus would have been able to have that on his resume as the best position player. So, is there something like that possibly coming? Probably not, because again, the structure of the BBWAA and how those awards end up going out, but it's definitely something that deserves consideration. And I'd be all for that. I think that would be a really great suggestion and a great change.
The Fernando Valenzuela NL Rookie of the Year award. Why not? Why not?
Okay, I like that. There you go.
And I think it's something that I believe, like, I don't see a downside to it. And I feel like rookies are getting the young talent in this game is getting to such a degree that I feel like every year there's guys that are popping that are really exciting.